Now, our next speaker is a repeat speaker. She spoke at this conference before. She spoke at the DC conference, and she's spoken at the meetup. So she's very deeply involved with this community. And she had her wedding in Ecuador fairly recently. So please welcome to the stage, Luda.
All right. Hi, I'm Ludmila Janda. I work at Amplify, and today I'm going to talk to you about some work I did with our R-Ladies NYC data from Meetup. So what is R-Ladies? R-Ladies is a global network of meetups. You can see here from this shiny dashboard built by R-Ladies that we have 173 chapters and nearly 70,000 members in 50 countries across the world. And here you can see from our active chapters across the world. It's pretty exciting. And I just want to point out here that we even have a chapter in the Galapagos, which I found out about when I was actually in the Galapagos, which was pretty cool. And the whole purpose of R-Ladies is to provide a supportive community for gender minorities using R. So today, sorry, what is this talk? So this talk is going to be an exploration of the R-Ladies NYC meetup data, and an attempt to kind of understand how our members, who's attending our events, what events are drawing people, if people are coming repeatedly, things like that, to kind of get a better sense of our meetup in general. And it's also a look at the code used to do this. So hopefully maybe you'll see some cool packages or functions, or just see an approach that might be interesting to you that I took in this process. So the first thing I want to talk about is this meetupr package. There's a link here in my slides to the package. This package was made by R-Ladies and a couple other contributors as well. I wasn't involved in the package making process, but I'm excited to use it. So this meetupr package takes advantage of the Meetup API and uses the OAuth system in order to pull data. It has several functions that I'm going to talk about, but this first function that I'm going to talk about is this get events function. It takes the parameter of the URL of the meetup that you're interested in. So in this case, I'm talking about R-Ladies New York, and it also takes the parameter of whether or not you want a specific event or if you want all of the past events. And it gives you, here you can see all of the variables that it gives you. Notably for this talk, we get all of the RSVP counts. For yes, RSVP, we get the date of the event and some information about the venue as well. And each event has its own specific ID. I think one thing I want to point out is that we don't actually collect data about the number of people that attend our events. We don't have that. We just have the number of people that RSVP'd. So there's a little distinction there, but I think usually, there's a little attrition for each event, but it's pretty consistent across the events unless there's maybe particularly bad weather on an event day. Typically, we'll see pretty consistent attendance. So, the first thing that I wanted to do here was just see how many events we've had since we started in 2016. So we've had 47 events. And then I wanted to see kind of just, summary stats of our RSVP counts. One thing I want to point out here is that there is a ceiling effect here because we are limited in terms of the venue capacity. So I guess if we ever or when we start meeting again in person, if you have a large venue and you're interested in hosting us, that would be awesome. But first, I just wanted to look at these numbers and make a quick graph. And one thing I wanted to look at is our RSVP counts trending upwards. So I made this graph and I saw that actually it looks like RSVP counts are super jumpy and there's some really low ones. So I got curious, what are these low events? So I went ahead and just labeled events with less than 35 RSVPs. And I want to point out this theme, R-Ladies, is not an official ggplot theme. I made it myself. It's in the code for my slides, which I'll post. So this is just something that I made, not official. So as soon as I made this graph, I realized really quickly that these really low events, most of them are our book club events. And our book club events are typically, they're held in a bookstore, so the capacity is really low. And also, they're usually on a weekend afternoon, so typically some people want to use that time differently. So I also saw that there's a social and a workshop, and those events we tend to keep them small in general. So I decided to go ahead and filter those out. And just saw that once I did that, our median RSVP count went up by about 10 people. And it looks like we're kind of trending up. And I think this event here was a particularly low capacity venue as well. But kind of good to see that we're having a lot of events with high RSVP counts, especially later on in our existence as we grow. So then I got curious, what are those popular events? I went ahead and labeled the graph again, but here with events with more than 80 RSVPs, and got to see that I was happy to see that a lot of these events are kind of later on, and several of them are online events that we've had since the beginning of COVID-19, which is nice because we've been really concerned about trying to maintain our community during this time. So it's nice to see that we have a lot of people interested in coming to events, even though they aren't in person. And I want to point out those events also have a capacity of 100 people right now. So there is a ceiling effect there as well. All right, so then I wanted to look at our members data. So one thing I want to point out here is that when you join Meetup, you get a persistent ID that stays with you through each Meetup event that you attend. And we can pull data on our members. So first, I just wanted to see how many members we have that are active. We have 1,856. Oh, and I want to point out this is another function in the meetupr package, the get members function that also uses the parameter of the URL name. So the first thing I wanted to do is to just go ahead and look at the count of new members that we got by month. And I made that, and I don't see like any interesting trends in particularly here. It's kind of jumpy. So then I got kind of curious about, are there particular events that are drawing a lot of new members? And I decided to graph that. So in order to do that, it was a little bit complicated because I needed to join our members data set with our events data set. And the first thing I wanted to do, or I needed to do, was to just group by the date for all of in the members data set and get a count of new members for each day. And I want to point out that we don't have the full set of dates for the entire time period in that data set. We just have the days where we got new members. But if I join this with our events data, I wanted to make sure that no dates from the events data dropped out. So the kind of easy way to do that, was to use this complete function. Complete is from tidyr. It's a cool function that I learned about recently that lets you complete a set of observations, given some information about them. So in this case, I wanted to complete all the possible dates in that time period from the min to the max of our time. And then I made a quick little events data set just with the date and the name of the event. So then I joined those two data sets, And in order to get the count of people that joined before each event, I grouped, I created a flag for the dates that had events. And I just used a cumulative sum. And here I subtract that event flag from it because I wanted the day of the event to be included in that event group, because I saw a lot of people actually join or become members the day of our events, which I thought was interesting, and wanted to make sure they got in. I'm pretty sure they're joining because of that event, so I wanted them to be included in that group. So then I group by the event group and get the count of new members before each event. You know, when I do this, I lose the event name and date, so I kind of do the same process, but just get the distinct event group name and date and join those two data sets together. And then I'm just going to label all of our events that had more than 50 new members before joining. And so here is the graph code, and here you can see. So every line or every bar is a event, and the height of the event corresponds to the number of new members that we got before each of these events. Which is, you know, this is interesting to see. I think in some cases, like here, there's just a lot of time between events, so a lot of people could join. But then in some cases, you know, we see that a lot of people got drawn in potentially because of a specific event. And in particular, I got interested in whether or not Hadley Wickham's talk that he gave to our meetup brought in a lot of new members. So I wanted to see if there was a bump there, and it looks like there was. It wasn't our biggest bump, but it looks like he did bring in a lot of new members, which was cool. Not very surprising, of course. So the next thing I wanted to do was just look at all of our you know, member counts for every day leading up to an event. Just kind of zoom out and look at that bigger picture. This isn't as easy to see just because you have a ton of data graphed on top of each other, but I faceted it by year. Each purple line is the day of an event, and here you can actually see that we get a lot of new members. Once again, the height of the bar is corresponding to the number of new members. So you can see we do get a lot of new members the day of the event, and often like a lot of new members right before it as well. Although I saw in some cases we get new members right after an event as well. So maybe people went to an event and had a great time, told some friends about it, or heard about an upcoming talk that might be interesting and told friends about it and they joined. So potentially you can't just attribute the new members before the event to the counts. Sorry, my dog is being a little crazy. Okay. So the next thing I was interested in was loyalty. I wanted to see how much are people coming to our events repeatedly. So I used this meetup function called get event attendees. And once again, it takes that URL name parameter, but it specifically takes a parameter for just one event. But I wanted the data about all of our events because I wanted to see how much people are coming multiple times. So in order to do that, I got all of our event IDs, and then I used them from per the map DFR function in order to row bind data frames of all of the, iterate across pulling all of the data sets of our event attendees for every event and row bind them together. So I'd have one nice data set quickly. All right, so once I got that, I went ahead and grouped by each user's ID, that persistent ID that they have. And I also filtered and got the count of events that they RSVP to. I also filtered down to just people that joined prior to this year because people that joined this year, we haven't had a ton of events and they haven't had a chance to go to several events. Then I made a graph, and I saw actually a lot of people are coming maybe once or RSVPing once or twice to our events. But at the same time, there's this nice long tail where we have a good amount of people that are actually going RSVPing to several events. I also saw that we had this one outlier, and I got curious about how many events I RSVP'd to. So I looked up my meetup ID and looked at how many I had RSVP'd to, and it turns out that I am that outlier. So you can see my passion for R-Ladies clearly quantified here. So the next thing I wanted to do is get a map of our event locations, and I was particularly interested in this because we are really concerned about making sure that our events are somewhere central, easy to access, and kind of spread out a little bit over our area. And so I went ahead and graphed that. And as you can see, I think we did a good job here. I think we've got, most of our events are pretty central to Manhattan or in locations that are fairly accessible. We had one in Brooklyn, but really close to Manhattan, close to some trains, one or a couple up at Columbia, but once again, close to some trains. So I felt good about that. I thought that was great. So what do I want to do next with this? Next, I want to make a Flex dashboard. Another one of our board members, Kaylin Medeiros, gave a great talk about Flex dashboards recently. They inspired me to make a Flex dashboard, and I think it would be really great for us to be able to, look at it and kind of look at it regularly as a board and get some insights about us. And then another thing I want to do is I want to use the functions from meetupr to automate our website event posts. We have a website built in R, of course, and but whenever we have a new event, we kind of manually copy paste what we post in Meetup into our website. And I think it'd be cool to just pull that information using the meetupr package and automate that process. And then I also want to use this data, kind of consider more who our speakers are, and if we're involving our community well, kind of think more about how we can do that in a meaningful way. And then I want to leave you with the last thing. I know word clouds are kind of a frivolous data visualization, but this is a word cloud of the comments left on our Meetup page. And I think it's a nice place to leave us because it looks like a lot of people said thank you, and I want to say thank you to all of you for attending. I also want to thank Sebastian, my husband, for listening to my talk several times, my mother as well, who's also an R-Lady, my manager at Amplify, who gave me the idea to write this talk and also recruited me from an R-Ladies event. And also to Ayanthi, another one of our board members who helped me make that map. I did a horrible job making the map in the first place, know nothing about making maps. The projection was all off, and she helped me, even gave me the right shape files. She was super helpful. And then thank you so much to the wonderful R-Ladies NYC. Thank you all.
Thank you, Luda, for sharing that data-driven look into R-Ladies. That was really awesome. Before we head to break, I wanted to tell everyone about a tradition we started a few years ago, and we have expanded it this year. I'm going to share my screen.